Nautical whistles are actually called boatswain's pipes, and they've been used on boats for hundreds of years. The high-pitched noise they make is perfect for being heard over the sound of wind, storms, or other things going on aboard the ship.
Paul Gauguin wasn't just a master with paint and a brush. He was also a well-known woodcutter, printmaker, and potter.
Paul Gauguin was born in France, but he eventually moved to the Tahitian Islands, where he painted the local scenery. While there, Gauguin built a cabin called House of Joy to live in on the island of Dominique. Georges Bizet took piano lessons from his parents when he was very young, and he got to be so good that he was admitted to the Paris Conservatory to study music when he was only 10 years old.
Georges Bizet wrote his first symphony when he was only 17 years old. But it's his opera, Carmen, that he's most famous for. Even though Carmen was written more than 100 years ago, you can still find it being performed all over the world today.
We know that waves end at the beach, but where do they begin? Waves build up in the middle of the ocean, where they form because of the wind. The size of a wave depends on how long the wind blows and how much open water it has blown across. If you take a close look at Katsushika Hokusai's woodblock print under the wave off Kanagawa, you'll see Mount Fuji in the background. The print is actually part of a series of 36 wood blocks called 36 Views of Mount Fuji.
So do real pirates use treasure maps? No. In fact, the idea of a treasure map where X marks the spot comes from Robert Louis Stevenson's famous book, Treasure Island.
Russian composer Peter Tchaikovsky not only wrote the music for Swan Lake, but he composed scores to the ballets The Sleeping Beauty and The Nutcracker as well. Peter Tchaikovsky was hired to write the music for Swan Lake by Russian director Vladimir Begachev, who paid him 800 rubles, about the same value as $550 today.
Hot air balloons may have been invented by human beings, but the first creatures to take flight in one in 1783 were animals, a sheep, a duck, and a rooster. The Thar Desert is sometimes called the Great Indian Desert, and it covers nearly 20,000 square miles in India and Pakistan. That's almost as big as the state of West Virginia. The Arabian Sea is part of the Indian Ocean, and in some places it is nearly 3 miles deep. This sea is full of fish like tuna, mackerel, and sardines. The Thar Desert is the 7th largest desert in the world, and while the temperature can be frigid in the winter, it gets hotter than 120 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer.
Gustave Courbet is known as one of the fathers of European Impressionism, partly because of his paintings like The Wave, painted in 1869. French painter Gustave Courbet taught himself to paint by studying the paintings of the masters hanging in the Louvre and trying to copy their work.
The rocks floating around in space called asteroids aren't round. Most asteroids are shaped like ovals and dumbbells.
You won't find Gustav Klimt's painting, Tree of Life, hanging in any museum. That's because it's actually painted on the dining room wall of a palace in Belgium. Being weightless in space isn't the only thing that happens to your body when there's no gravity. Astronauts actually grow a couple of inches taller while they're in space.
Composer Antonin Dvorak's Symphony No. 9 is also called the New World Symphony. Maybe that's why astronaut Neil Armstrong brought a recording of it into space for the first moon landing in 1969.
Composer Antonin Dvorak didn't just love to write music. He was also a big fan of trains, and he spent hours and hours watching them come and go at the railroad station.
Even though Saturn's rings look like they're solid circles, a closer look shows that they're really made up of big and small chunks of ice floating around the planet.
Saturn is one of the largest planets in the galaxy. But would you believe that it's also the lightest? That's because Saturn is mostly made up of gas. In fact, you can't stand on Saturn because there's no real surface to step on. Gold and silver isn't just for jewelry. If you look closely at the painting Tree of Life, you'll see that Gustav Klimt used pieces of thin foil made of real gold and silver in his art.